Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening and good afternoon, and welcome to WCS Winter. We got one last group in our first group stage here. My name is Fear Dragon, and I am joined by Zombie Grub here at the desk. And we got an awesome day of StarCraft headed your way. What's up?
Not much.
How'd you sleep?
I actually slept very well. I got 8 hours, but I wanted more. Not gonna lie.
Fair. Yeah, I also got. I actually dreamt that I got.
Oh God.
20 hours of sleep because I had a dream that I overslept for this broadcast by 10 hours. You didn't wake me up or make sure that I was actually also headed to the studio because it's exactly something to do. I had a dream then that I also went to M. Canning's house where Artosis was there, and we all three of us worked together to try and find a way to go back in time so that I could wake up in time for this group so I could make the broadcast and cast these games. Because you know what, Zombie Grub? As true as the story is as this was, it's another way of me saying that I wouldn't dare to dream of missing this group.
You messed it up.
Oh, okay. That was a great start. Let's talk about WCS Winter, though. For those who have somehow missed out on every single one of the groups so far, you may not know the format for WCS Winter. So we're going to go ahead and cover that one more time. 32 players managed to qualify for this stage of the tournament. 16 players are going to advance on to the next stage, which will be a second group stage. And after that, we're going to have a round robin with the top 8. The top 6 will be seeded into a single elimination King of the Hill style bracket and offline finals as well. Going to be a lot of fun.
Yes, it will. A bit of a change up of formats, but still familiar territory until that round robin.
Absolutely. And of course, we do also have a awesome prize pool for all of the players who are playing today and all the other days. $60,000 per region on the line, $120,000 total between Americas and Europe, with $12,000 going to first place and $675 to any players that get knocked out in this group stage. And of course, you guys can see everything there and in between. A really, really great prize pool, and we're already seeing some of the players doubling the prize money they've earned or breaking the 100K mark. Lots of good stories there in that regard.
Yeah, I didn't realize there were people breaking the 100K mark with
supposedly, we saw on the overlays that TLO was right on the verge of hitting over 100K with his performance, and even though he got knocked out yesterday, should have come out over 100K now.
That's cool.
It's really cool. Congratulations, Dario. Of course, guys, we got 4 more players left in our European group, our last European group. Let's take a look. These are the missing names. Only 2 of these guys are going to be able to advance on out. We're going to start with ShoWTimE versus HateMe in a Protoss versus Zerg. And we're going to be moving to a Zerg versus Zerg with Zanster versus Sort of. 3 Zergs and a Protoss player, but man, is that Protoss player scary.
Yeah, ShoWTimE is the favorite to get out of this, not just for previous results, you know, just being all around a good Protoss, but also because recently it's just been like, you know, all the other pros, you know, when he tweets out his like ladder record, when he plays in any tournaments online, he's like so good.
ShoWTimE, he's been streaming. Funny enough, he's been streaming a lot, which is something that a lot of pro players generally avoid when they're about to play in WCS or Challenger or anything like that. ShoWTimE has been streaming a bunch, and it's scary because you watch him and you're like, well, he's just really good. He's not even doing anything that weird.
Yeah.
Neeb was getting frustrated by how many times ShoWTimE was beating him on the ladder, and Neeb is actually pretty good. I don't know if you guys know this. Yeah, ShoWTimE is the man to beat today. HateMe, one of the kind of more up-and-coming Zergs. He's been around for a bit, but he's got a hard wall ahead of him.
Yes, literally the wall.
The wall.
The wall. But maybe if his ZVZ is really quite good, then maybe the rest of the group is something that he finds favorable. But ShoWTimE, oof, he just rips Zerg to shreds.
Oh man, it's also tough for all of the Zergs because they have to make this choice. Do I practice a lot of Zerg versus Protoss knowing that I have one of the best Protoss players in all of Europe that I have to beat? Or do I just spend my time focusing on ZVZ and saying, look, I might lose to ShoWTimE, but let me just make sure I win the ZVZs?
It is that's actually a really good point. They probably chose that. Had to choose one or the other. We are in the first game of the first series of the day. In the bottom right, as the blue Protoss, he is ShoWTimE.
The Demauer. Amazing that this guy is currently teamless, by the way. For anyone looking to pick up some players, seriously, this is one of the best players in Europe. But spawning up here in the top left-hand corner of the map, we have the red Zerg player. His name is HateMe. By the end of today, you'll want to love him. From Godoron Esports.
Yeah, because that Nation Wars
Oh, yeah.
flag, Polish flag. Yeah, you know, like, I don't really know German. I took like a couple of weeks of lessons when I went to Germany. That was fun, but you know, didn't really retain a lot of it. So whenever I see ShoWTimE's nickname in German, I just want to go, the Mauer. Meower.
Meower. Well, at least his nickname is in English.
The Wall. Well, that's what the.
Oh, I was gonna say ShoWTimE, but yeah.
Oh. Okay. Well, anyways.
Turns out that's also a German phrase that means something completely different in English. It's a total coincidence.
Well. So yeah, I mean, if you're here and you're like, you know, you don't know ShoWTimE, well then yes, he is super, super good. Just know that. But HateMe, this is how this works, right? You get that #1 seed versus the #4 seed. Generally, that #4 is someone you might have heard of. We do have some, you know, consistency. But when it comes to Europe and NA, especially, that round of 32 can be sometimes, you know, like yesterday, right, with Soul Spirit. You know, we didn't really know a lot about him. It could have been brutal, but he actually showed some really great games.
Yeah.
HateMe, a little more well-known generally. As you said, has been playing for quite some time, but just hasn't really been able to punch above, you know...
His weight level.
Yeah, but I was going to say, like, even above, like, the top 10 Zerg. Like, that's just... It's so many good players in Europe, and on top of that, Zerg, right? So you can't really have a breakout. You have to have a really big breakout performance, and defeating ShoWTimE would be... Even if it doesn't mean he gets out of the group, maybe just like a one-series thing, would still be amazing.
And I do think that while Serral is known for his consistency in being able to just not drop series, as he has an insane just winning streak right now in tournament series, ShoWTimE is a player that, while absolutely a top-tier player, does drop series sometimes. It's actually quite realistic, and HateMe is also a guy who's, I'm sure, encountered ShoWTimE in the ladder a lot. These two guys should know each other. I'm sure ShoWTimE actually does know a bit about HateMe, so I'm interested to see where things go. ShoWTimE, again, he also has had his playstyle a bit more out there lately with the streaming, with, of course, just him playing in a lot of other tournaments and stuff. So HateMe has some records that he can use to try and gauge what ShoWTimE likes to do these days.
Yeah. Good at depth scouting. He's going to follow up with a Stargate, so scouting should not be an issue. If it really was, say, the Baneling bus, for instance, there are ways to try and, you know, sneak their way in there, but it's not. So the scouting will reveal that. It is just a normal macro game. Stalker is going to keep this Overlord away, but the Phoenix is actually out. It's going this way.
Yeah, so it was Adept, then Stalker, which I think usually when you see a Stalker as a Zerg player, like the lesson that was told for a really long time was if you see a super fast Stalker, then usually it's not going to be a Stargate opening, but looks like the Phoenixes is still going to come back over here. And I guess maybe there was some of the changes to Warp Gate or something. You're okay with delaying that a bit longer and getting up the Stalker even if you go for Stargate. I'm actually not 100% sure, but either way, Phoenix reveals itself and HateMe knows exactly what's going on.
Yep. He did lose the Overlord that would see the gases being taken, but that is, you know, basically, it's like what? Stargate still, you know, makes up 80% of PvZs,
yeah,
so it's kind of expected.
The next question that HateMe is going to have is it a double Stargate play? Do you continue making a lot more Phoenix? Do you go single Stargate, just 5 Phoenix and harass, or do you just go straight into Templar Archives and a Robo and go for Archon drops? What does the follow-up look like? Because you can transition in a lot of different ways off of the single Stargate opening.
Yes, we do see a Twilight Council on the way to start that transition. Still pumping out some Phoenix. It will be around to harass. I love HateMe's patrols. He's got Lings scouting for the 3rd base. He's got Lings keeping tabs on whatever is coming from the naturals we see there. And then he has Lings that are looking basically for either a lot of Phoenix, right? They're going to fly over and show that there's 10 of them. Boom, that's a double Stargate build. Or like a Warp Prism, which would tell him maybe it was an opening or their follow-up of an Archon drop, right? So really cool stuff. And ShoWTimE not going to waste energy trying to pick those up, going right for the drones. I mean, maybe later he'll try and clean up the vision from HateMe, but he wants to do some damage here.
Nice Overlord snag. It doesn't seem like it's going to supply block HateMe, but he doesn't have another Overlord on the way, and he's getting pretty close to that supply block range right there with 6 more drones on the way, so has to start up some Overlords again. Resonating Glaives on the way, and still continuing Phoenix production past 6. That's the 7th Phoenix being made right now.
We've been seeing a real resurgence, I feel, of resonating glaives. You see it a lot more than we have in the past year in PvT, for instance. So PvZ, obviously it's still a strong either start or follow-up, you know, but I don't know about making this actually, you know, a composition. You're looking for a lot of damage with certainly a decent amount of adepts, but, you know, it's not a big all-in. He is taking a third base, going up to a Robo, but if HateMe doesn't have Roaches already prepared or Banelings already prepared, it's just Lings and Queens, then the combination, especially, of Phoenix Adept can do a lot of damage.
Absolutely. Well, the Adepts are starting to shade their way further across the map to try and get some damage done. When you go for this many Adepts, you can see that the Robo is much further delayed than a Protoss player normally would, so he goes for the double Robo as a follow-up to try and play catch-up in Immortal counts and everything, but he's got to get something done with this.
I didn't realize how many Queens HateMe made. I knew that he didn't have a lot of Roaches, which he's trying to make now, but his Queens were his first line of defense, and they're not going to be great at dealing with Adepts.
That's almost all the Lings dead, by the way. There are some Roaches popping on out, but the Phoenixes are keeping the Queens busy, so the Adepts with Resonating Glaives are actually working away at that hatchery. It doesn't seem like a big deal, but the hatchery does take some damage, and now the Adepts are in the main base.
This is already game-ending damage. Like, HateMe, I feel like... So that we saw, like, I put the vision on when the Link scouted these Adepts, but I guess the one that was over here didn't actually get the full intel, because it took a little while for HateMe to actually respond.
Oh my god, I kind of like the response from HateMe just because, like you said, it's already game-ending damage. Throwing down a Night Storm and saying, I just need to go for this. And the Phoenix are going to be useful in dealing with a Night Storm, though, because they can pick up those Queens as soon as they pop out of the Night Storm, try and prevent the transfuse. It's going to be kind of a bit of a battle of APM and seeing who clicks first. The Phoenix lift up the Queens or the transfuse.
Plus, let's not forget that the Night Storm is something you can kill now, so...
Oh, boy.
Has full sight on his bases. He finds the more aggressively placed Night Storm, and HateMe is out of options, really. Like, there is no way to play this game out where he can come out ahead. He's probably just going to lose.
Yeah, ShoWTimE just absolutely infallible right now. Even finds the next Night Storm, he's going to pull back, but so far, the wall has still not been broken.
Yeah, I mean, the issue now is not just that the Night Storm can't get up and there's a second Night Storm on the way, it's that the army that HateMe is sending through it is something that ShoWTimE can deal with anyways, even if he doesn't find the Night Storm. Yeah. So...
He's going to have Immortal number 4 and number 5 by the time these units make their way over. A handful of Phoenix still useful to maybe pick up some units here and there. He finds another Night Swarm that goes in. HateMe is just trying to use these bait Night Swarms in the middle of the map to say, hey, maybe you'll think that this is the end of the Night Swarm shenanigans, but look at this. Phoenix lifting up those Queens. Transfuses do come down on the Night Swarm. He does get a full unload. And ShoWTimE does have to back up, but remember, this isn't even close to the full army size for ShoWTimE.
Oh, HateMe does have these units in position with Transfuse now. It's a little scary, but Immortals, Force Fields coming through, and just, oh my gosh, so many Immortals actually. He's got 5 of them to punch through everything here.
And we're starting to see nice Force Field segmenting off some of the Roaches, the Queens getting Force Fielded away. And most of those Roaches, most of those Queens not even really attacking here. ShoWTimE with a spectacular defense. More Immortals coming on forward. HateMe put up a fight, but ShoWTimE remains unflinching.
That was a very cool idea, though, from HateMe to recover. I mean, yes, he made the fatal mistake of allowing those Adepts to do damage, but the way that he followed up was really awesome, taking advantage of how many Queens he made. But to actually focus on that a little bit, like, that was a lot of Queens.
It was.
It was a Queen count that if I had thought about it at the time, I'd be like, I wonder if he's going to Night Swarm. But I'm not actually sure about that. Maybe it was just because he wanted to deal with the Phoenix, and they are a very strong initial base defense. No,
but you were so right, though, that in a situation where, say, he's not up against ShoWTimE, he's up against a different Protoss player that isn't quite 100% prepared and doesn't expect the third Night Storm to go up in the main base, if HateMe unloads and actually gets into the main base, starts camping the production, all the warp gates and stuff start getting taken out, but most importantly, he gets to the top of that ramp in time to prevent ShoWTimE from easily moving up into his main base, even forcing a recall or something. The angle for ShoWTimE gets a lot harder. You can't really force field as well. And I actually think, while not necessarily a guarantee, there's a chance there for HateMe. He actually could have maybe won that versus a lesser Protoss player, but ShoWTimE is ShoWTimE.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. But it doesn't work out, and ShoWTimE gets kind of I wouldn't say that's an easy win. That last fight was like a little, like there were some question marks there, but The Adept Phoenix actually had no response to it whatsoever, so that's got to feel good. Just a nice clean win.
And of course, it wasn't an all-in. That was just pressure. That was Phoenixes just trying to pick up some drones here and there. And of course, ShoWTimE, with that opening, again, he delayed his robo and stuff, so he needs to get some damage done, but he would have been cool with 6, 7, maybe 8 drones or something.
Well, yeah, depending if he gets his adepts out.
Yeah.
Deal, right? Like, yeah, there's multiple ways that could have really gone down, but I think the Phoenix scouting that there really wasn't any Roach defense, no Baneling Nest was scouted, it really was just the Queens. Probably also gave ShoWTimE the green light to just go ahead and do it, although it was also probably his plan from the get-go. So ShoWTimE not exactly showing us, you know, his usual, the reason he usually wins, that he's so good at defending, and I guess he did defend that game. But rather showing us how he can also just take the punch to you, man, and just kill you right off the bat.
I also feel like in PvZ, it's sort of difficult, because ShoWTimE is the guy who you think of as the macro player. He's not the guy who loves throwing out cheeses all the time. He'll mix one in every so often just to keep you on your toes, just to make sure he kind of is keeping Zerg players honest. But he's the guy that can do the same build over and over and over again, and it's fine. But in Protoss versus Zerg, I feel like Protoss, there are a multitude of standard builds. We're talking about the different options that ShoWTimE has available to him. It's not even a guarantee that HateMe is going to be up against the same thing this game.
Absolutely, yeah. And ShoWTimE, if you really did want to just go back to, like, you know, you bring the attack to me, I'm going to hold. Like, he is known for being good at that style. So what's going to bring out here on Automaton in the bottom left as the blue Protoss up 1, he is ShoWTimE.
And spawning up here in the top right-hand side of the map, we have the red Zerg player from Team Godoron Esports. He is HateMe. Did manage to get a top 32 at WCS 2017 Valencia, I think it's said there, which is a good result. That's getting into group stage 3. But I'm sure he would love to be able to make a deeper run. And of course, this is just the first series of the day, so it's not like any players that lose this series get eliminated. But it is still a tough match. HateMe would love to be able to kind of get a strong start today.
Yeah, and something, you know, that could have really helped was building that momentum in the first game. If the Nidus Swarm had been successful, or any type of attack, aggressive attack on ShoWTimE had been successful, you kind of just get that #1 game out of the way. You say, I can do it. I'm not just up against a literal wall.
Yeah.
But that's not how it went down, so it's still an uphill battle for Zerg.
Even, I feel like it's not even necessarily that he needed to win it. He just needed to feel like he had more of a chance, but ShoWTimE smacked it down so hard. That's a bit demotivating.
Yeah, the Adepts doing so much damage without your response is just, it never feels good. You know, you're a very good Zerg player, you know, in comparison to some others, maybe. That's, you know, but in general, you're a very good Zerg player. You're not supposed to just die to attacks like that. But at least the final battle was something that, you know, lasted a little while longer. It was something where he wasn't supposed to be able to transfuse the Nidus Swarm when he was able to. So maybe, you know, if he's really grasping at straws, like, he can be like, you know what, I saw ShoWTimE's mistakes. Okay, like, I can do this. But they might be reading too much into, you know, exactly what's going down here. I think that a lot of players do just, they go, well, that sucks that I lost. Next game, okay, what am I going to do next game? And that's what they should focus on, isn't it?
Absolutely. Automaton, a great map for some of that Stargate play once again, just because you can dance around over all of those cliffs and try and move back and forth between the bases. And Stargate play, it's going to be from ShoWTimE, as he also follows up with that first Adept, with a second Adept this game. So very mild mix-up in the kind of build order, but the Phoenix will be able to take care of any Overlords, and the Adepts should be able to shade across the map, get some scouting information. But Probe already finding the third base is a nice reveal, saying, okay, I know this isn't some super fast Roach all-in or a 2-base Baneling bus, but we'll see what HateMe actually decides to do.
Yeah, I wonder if ShoWTimE's going to build an Oracle this time and go for a bit of an aggressive tactic. Maybe a Phoenix and Oracle? It is Phoenix first.
Still could follow up with the Oracle, like you were saying, though. And we'll see what ShoWTimE decides to do. It's, oh man, I actually am more curious what HateMe is going to try and do to mix things up, because I feel like it's not an uncommon thing to just say, okay, I'm up against someone like ShoWTimE. What all-ins do I have at my disposal? What weird plays? And the Nidus Swarm play is still something. Of course, in that last game, he got shut down, but he was already playing a bit from behind at that point.
Okay.
Nice room plays have been something that a lot of Zerg players have been talking about and really enjoying.
Yeah, I mean, we saw yesterday in ZVZ how
Yep.
many Nidus rooms were appearing there. We might see that again today in today's ZVZs, but already seeing one in a ZVP. Maybe HateMe will try that again, but right now he's going to be lacking information such as this is, in fact, a double Stargate opener, something you brought up as a potential last game.
Okay, so when you go for the double Stargate opener, usually most of the European Protoss players go for the Mass Phoenix opening. And I only say that because I know there are a lot of North American memers out there that love going for just the double Stargate Oracle, which has definitely fallen off a good bit. But
Yeah.
those NA memers still love them.
Yeah. Much more often we see the Phoenix, and not even really as many Phoenix as you might expect, and then transferring into...
It's like 8 to 10, I would say.
Yeah, exactly. Which, you know, we hear double Stargate. I think there's been periods where it's like 20. Like, oh,
Yes.
This is just silly.
Roddy still does those.
Well, there you go, exactly. But no, you transfer into a Robo, Twilight Council, Archons, all that good stuff. So HateMe's still going to have a problem getting the Scout right. He has his Lings once again patrolling, which is amazing. It's great, it's fantastic. But ShoWTimE, when he has the amount of Phoenix that he wants, he's going to show them. Actually, no, this is super cool.
I love this so much. Hallucinating a Warp Prism. This is just completely going to throw HateMe off the trail. HateMe gets up the blind normal 3 Spore Crawlers to deal with an Oracle or single Stargate. But once you see the Warp Prism, you usually think it's going to be an Archon drop or something along those lines, or maybe a Depths. Roaches, great answer to that. You know what's not a great answer to Phoenix? Roaches.
Exactly. Like, best case scenario, I think, would have been if HateMe were able to scout this accurately entirely, is that he doesn't even really make any roaches at all. He just says, oh, well, I have the roach warren, now I'm going to go back into droning and maybe, you know, get a base up, because that's something that Phoenix can't actually do anything about. But it's a bamboozling, as HateMe is like, okay, that's a lot more Phoenix than I was expecting. The Warp Prism already, you know, went away as a hallucination. And HateMe now has these units, these roaches, that aren't going to look very useful.
He baited out 15 roaches. That is an insane number of roaches. That could have been drones, could have been some faster tech. And you can see the HateMe immediately reacting and saying, oh no, okay, let me just go back into droning. I need to play some catch up, make up for these useless bags of roaches that are going to have absolutely no value for a while.
They really aren't. He could have desperately gone across the map, but the Phoenix, you know, they buy time. You get some force fields up, and then suddenly it's all fine. That really would not have been a fantastic answer, even if maybe it would have delayed the third Nexus, and then you would have lost all your roaches. So instead, they're being used just at home defensively, and he is doing what he's supposed to now, which is droning, and defending and some queens. It just is again, not a solid start for the Zerg.
Also want to note that HateMe, it seems like he is sort of trying to cut some of the extra Spore Crawlers. Usually when you have a Protoss player going for 2 Stargate Phoenix, you get 2 Spore Crawlers at each one of these bases almost immediately, but he is really trying to cut those. He's finally starting to add them on as he's realizing that none of the Phoenix have died, and they are still getting a handful of drone kills. But
yeah,
it's one of those things that I do like HateMe trying to do, because he has to cut some corners to make up for the roaches he just made.
Well, yeah, I mean, I feel like the perfect defense is like 2 Spore Crawlers in the bases that are most vulnerable, and then like 1 in like the Natra or something, and then like 4 queens patrolling around, 4 extra queens, which I guess he's going up to 3 bases. Like, well, no, that's 6 extra queens. Like, HateMe once again, just going for a lot of queens.
Getting up the Hydra, getting up the Hydra Den as well. We could still see another Night Storm attempt or something, but there's a Baneling that's being added on, and the double Evo, and an Infestation Pit. So, I mean, melee and Carapace.
I'm with you. Like, when I see that many queens banking energy, I'm like, well, Night Swarm.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking as well.
But this just seems to be, you know, it is an entirely defensive strategy, but I wonder if it's a little bit overkill.
Especially if you're getting up the Hydra Den, which, to be fair, in HateMe's defense, Hydras in low numbers still end up getting picked off by the Phoenix. And, of course, we haven't seen additional Phoenix production, but yeah, it is a bit interesting to see.
It's just one of those things where, like, maybe just 3 Spore Crawlers every base instead of 6 extra queens. But it's either or, right? He has to defend against the Phoenix somehow. He would have loved to already picked off more. I think he's picked off 1. He almost gets the second one. They're all very low. So there's a big chance he could finally snipe those off. But they have lasted as long as they're supposed to. They've done the damage they're supposed to. He's transitioned as he's supposed to. And they're also scouting. So ShoWTimE isn't going to get stuck against what he thinks is only a lair, he sees that it's a hive.
Oh yeah, if you want to pull up that units lost tab, by the way, it's pretty beautiful for ShoWTimE. 1 Phoenix lost in exchange for a decent number of drones, an Overlord, a couple of Lings. While not insane damage that HateMe has taken versus a double Stargate opening, you do definitely kind of inevitably end up losing a bunch of drones. ShoWTimE has done a great job controlling those Phoenix, and those are really useful. For example, if HateMe decides to add on some Vipers or something like that, or gets up a Spire.
Yeah, so some of you might be like, why are we like ragging so much on the Zerg player? The suppliers seem kind of fine, and that is true, but they're not really supposed to be. The Zerg player would love to be maxed out, actually, before even ShoWTimE hits 150 supply, so that they can really start to tear them apart left and right type deals if they're being aggressive. But HateMe's not going for the aggressive, right? He is choosing to go for a bit of a risk by going straight into the tech that is so openly scouted by a Phoenix player, right? But if he can get there, if he can actually get that precise timing before ShoWTimE decides to move out, then his tech will be better than ShoWTimE's.
Yeah, and just to also clarify on the supply counts, yes, HateMe has got a decent supply, but look at the supply and the quality of the supply. Here for ShoWTimE, there's not a ton of Zealots and Adepts. No, it's High Templars, it's Archons, it's 7 Immortals, and then on HateMe's side, it's 13 Roaches, which is inflated supply, a bunch of Zerglings, and some Hydras. He does have some Banelings now finishing up as he is getting ready for the attack.
I think, I don't know if he really wants to actually take it, though. I think he wants to just, like, scare ShoWTimE and then maybe actually even give up his 4th base because he has another 4th Quith, right, on the way.
Oh, man. ShoWTimE is so smart, by the way. I think, just gets some sense, like, oh, that's actually maybe not the best angle to approach in from. Goes for a Warp Prism attack on the main base and moves in from a different angle where HateMe was trying to set up for a 3-way flank.
Yeah, and HateMe actually just wasn't really paying attention. He's so busy trying to defend in the main base against so many Zealots that this army never moved in to even try and help out. Now it is, and it still has a concave. This is going to be a little bit messy, as you see there. They actually hit the heart of the army, but the Immortals live through it.
Oh, more Banelings rolling in on top of these Zealots that are trying to warp in, but he pulls back some of the Zealots, keeps them alive. The Phoenix lift up the Queens, and there's the GG. ShoWTimE dominates the series 2-0.
Yeah. Are we that surprised? Not necessarily, but ShoWTimE.
It's just so much fun. I say this with definitely bias as a Protoss player, but it's just a lot of fun watching ShoWTimE because it feels like such clean play.
Yeah, it does. I think some people would be like, oh, but he's just like a boring Protoss player. But no,
Yeah.
I agree. Like, I appreciate the beauty that is like super clean play. And that was ShoWTimE right there. But then he also did that really cool thing with the Warp Prism. So that makes him really fun.
I know. It's so cool. And I do feel bad for HateMe because I thought HateMe was doing a bunch of really cool things. Also, the Nidus Room stuff that we talked about in game number 1, when he was down, I love that he was so well set up for that massive flank in on ShoWTimE's army. If ShoWTimE had tried to push in through that other angle and gone directly into that 3-way flank, I actually think that ShoWTimE's army would have disappeared there. The storms are not enough. There weren't a bunch of force fields that were available or anything, but ShoWTimE is just so smart. He's like, no, actually, I can sense, my star sense is going off saying this is going to be a trap. Let me go around a different direction. It'll take a little longer, but it's going to be safer.
That was the absolute correct call. You know, HateMe definitely could have played the late game a little bit better, but he was already in that difficult position from the get-go, so it was just one of those like, well, yeah, ShoWTimE's not going to let a lead like that go. Sorry.
Yeah.
On to the ZVZs.
Oh, man. Well, congratulations to ShoWTimE, already netting himself a victory. Walks over into the winner's bracket, but that does mean that we're going to find out who the lower bracket match is also going to be, as well as that upper bracket match is going to be against. Zanser versus Sort of is going to be that next match. The loser of that series will go on to face off versus HateMe. The winner will go on to face off versus ShoWTimE. We'll see who's going to come out on top in the Zerg versus Zerg.